starting with something with nothing.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Real Talk Good Vibes podcast, where we're all about keeping it real, staying vibey, and diving into topics that truly matter. I'm Miss Coco, and today we're talking about GoFundMes. Is this the new life insurance policy? So I'm going to tap in with the squad and talk about crowdfunding for life's greatest risk. This is just a wake-up call for us to make sure that we are, empowering each other, but educating each other and saying, hey, you can control the dynamics of your family if you just have these conversations. Because there's a lot of people who are they're healthy but uneducated, right? They don't have that knowledge because someone else did not put that, instill that information in them. 60% of Americans are insured, leaving 40% uninsured. Nearly half of those that are insured are underinsured, with policies ranging from $25,000 to $100,000. And 20% of this group possesses less than 25% of coverage. So I'm going to tap in with the squad and talk about crowdfunding for life's greatest risk. This is a wake-up call. But before we get into that, allow me to reintroduce the squad. Mr. Mack.
Going on, everybody? Welcome to the show.
Dr. Juju.
Hey, everyone. It's a pleasure being in the lab with the Good Vibe Squad.
Mr. Ali Al, better known as A to the double A battery.
Like Duracell, like the Energizer battery. I'm here for the energy, baby. Let's go.
Miss CC.
Hey, everybody. Let's get into it.
Stage Mo.
Hey, y'all.
Miss Rocky.
Hey, everybody. Great to be here today.
I'm going to get started and kick it off. So, guys, I was watching something the other day, and I was watching it, and that's weird. I was watching an episode the other day, and it was about a person who had a successful life. They started their own business. They made it, they really got it out the mud, was what it was about. And they started their own business. Every picture that was shown of this person and all of the success that was spoken about regarding this person was just how they were self-made. They had it going on. They were, grinding. They made it, paying their own bills, own car, all this stuff. And then every picture that was being posted of the person, it reflected them in designer, right? Nothing but designer, every single picture. And so the person did have a child that they left behind. They were killed. And so we do want to send our love and condolences to the families. I know this may be a sensitive topic, but then next thing you know, it was followed by, supporting them by donating money to a GoFundMe to help pay for the cost of burial, as well as to help, support the child. And so my question is, when did GoFundMes really become the new life insurance policy? And how do you guys feel about that?
I don't think GoFundMe should be your primary plan. You definitely need to plan for one of life's most challenging moments. You definitely need to have a plan. And that person who spent all their money, that's an age-old story. You can't squander your wealth and not make good choices for your children or whoever you're going to leave behind.
Right. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm what you call a TikTok scroller. That what they call them? TikTok scroller. And, just the other day, I think it was yesterday, maybe 2 days or so ago, that's when I noticed people, they make videos about certain people like, X, Y, Z, this person just passed away and I need help, and in hopes that it goes viral, because if it goes viral, people see that story. Now the link for your GoFundMe is in your bio. And now the more people you have watching your story, the more chances you have of more people actually going ahead and donating, even if it's $1, $5, $10, everything adds up.
Right.
And so, it's that to me is like a little disheartening, if that's even a word, but
It is.
it is. Okay, thank you. Phew. But yeah, I'm like, yo, so you really got to do all this just to get some money because you were ill prepared throughout life. And, regardless of what, we know insurance isn't cheap, but like I said, if I could do it back when I was in my 20s and I was just blowing the little bit of money I brought in, then to be honest with you, in my mind, you can do what you got to do to make sure you're well taken care of.
I think it's the lack of knowledge. And I feel like some people aren't past that knowledge. So they don't think to get life insurance. Like, I would have never thought about it until my mother told me, make sure you have life insurance for not only yourself, but for your kid. God forbid something happens to either one of you. You just want to make sure financially that you're both covered. But to go back to the topic, it's unfortunate that people are relying on GoFundMe instead of creating that generational wealth and being financially responsible in that aspect.
Like Rocky was just saying, generational wealth, is created in those, but specifically, in the Black community, generational wealth, we had a lot of gaps because we weren't able to, have the same, I guess, access to things or resources that others may have had. And I think that did or does still cause, that kind of uncertainty around life insurance. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Then the lack of education around it as well. How does it really impact us? And we don't think about how it impacts us until it actually impacts you, and that's why I think it's starting to be more reliant on the GoFundMe because they're not sure, like, oh, life insurance, I'm only 27. What do I need life insurance for? Now, me personally, I have life insurance, but that's how this generation thinks. Like, that's not something that's in there right now that they're focused on.
And so, what happened to educating our kids and letting them know, as they become young adults, like, hey, these are the things that you want to make sure that you have, especially as you're coming off of my insurance or you're becoming a young adult and you're wanting to move into independency. You will need to make sure that you have life insurance, make sure that you have health insurance coverage, make sure that you're planning for a rainy day. Right. And so those are things that you instill in your kids. So then that way they have it. So whether they do it or not, it's in the back of their head. So once they reach some financial stability, then it's like, okay, let me go ahead and at least get me. And especially if, you're a real parent, you're constantly urging your kid, hey, go get a life insurance policy. Like, I don't care. It's only a couple dollars a month. If nothing else, get that. Go get you some health insurance. You can stay on mine until you're 26, but after 26, like, start saving some money so you can cover these things. Those are the things that we as parents should be teaching our kids. But it's like, once we started moving away from the traditional marriage in the household, so this is generations ago, it seems like once we started moving away from the traditional marriage, traditional family, traditional men and women, and we started removing a lot of those things, what ultimately started to happen is we started seeing how things started to fall by the wayside. So we removed, households from having a father and a mother, right? Because that combination helped to create a balance where one person was able to teach this and the other person was able to teach that. And then kids were able to see things too. So they were learning from what they were being told and what they were actually observing. So, just wanted to continue the conversation about GoFundMe becoming the new life insurance policy. And and I think, Cece, you're going to touch base on that in just a few minutes about the actual platform policy of it. One of the conversations that you've heard a lot lately, so thankfully I'm not the only person, or we're not the only people who are thinking and feeling this, is that, GoFundMe should not be your fallback to a life insurance policy, right? While we do have empathy and compassion for families, their deaths and loss, and we probably have family members too that maybe didn't go the extra mile of covering themselves so they don't have insurance policies currently. The question is, one, what happened to us educating our loved ones on the importance of having life insurance policies? Where did we fail? But then just wanting to educate people on life insurance policies as a whole, and then touching on the subject of life insurance policy versus waiting until something happens and now your family's posting a GoFundMe to bury you or to help bury you and then take care of any dependents that you may have left behind. So I'll open the floor to that. I also wanted to just point out that while you're going to touch on in just a few moments also the different types of life insurance policies, just as an example, a single person, the average monthly cost of a $500,000 term, 20-year term life insurance policy is around $26 a month. There are some variant factors that can alter that price, which would be age, gender, health, and the type of policy. However, the average monthly cost for a 40-year-old buying a $500,000 policy that is a 20-year term life insurance policy is around $26 a month. And that's just a 40-year-old, right? And then if you look at a 25-year-old healthy non-smoking male, it's around $22.50 a month. And a young lady, 25, it's around $14 a month. That's also a non-smoker and healthy. And so I wanted to point those two things out, as well as a 55-year-old $50,000 policy, $60 a month, and the male would be $86.50. And so I wanted to put those prices out there just as something to stick in the back of your mind as you're hitting on different subjects. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Cece.
I want to go ahead and step into what the purpose of GoFundMe is for. GoFundMe is a platform that is designed for nonprofit and charity companies to create fundraisers. And so that's what it was for. And the highest amount, or the typical amount that they created the platform for, was like $4,000, to raise $1,000 quickly after you publish it and spread the word and get the community to come back and donate. But it was set up originally for like $1,000. But now it is being used, like we've already said, for medical bills, for life insurance purposes, for crowdfunding, personal experiences. And, some people are using it for simple things like sporting events. Help my daughter raise her money, help her little basketball team raise the money they need to get to South Carolina to play in the playoffs, different things. People are using it for various things, but it was originally created for nonprofit and charities to raise money. And again, a small amount, like $1,000, but now it has grown and branched off to be used for things such as life insurance. But we have to, again, like we said, stop relying on GoFundMe to bury your loved ones. It's hard enough that you're already grieving and trying to make funeral arrangements, and to not have the funding is just unacceptable. If we continue to plan to fail, we're going to continue to fail. If we continue to fail to plan, we're going to plan to fail. So we got to do better. And that's why this conversation is really good, and it's very educational and beneficial for our community.
Oh, those are a lot of very good, valid points. And I think we definitely come to the conclusion that you should have life insurance, and you should not, you can do better than relying on GoFundMe for your family and yourself. But one of the things I want to talk about is once you get life insurance, what happens? And like I said, we've talked about getting it for our children, but you can get a life insurance a couple weeks after birth. Basically, once you have all the proper documentation, you can apply for a life insurance policy for a newborn. basically, and keep that policy for that child, pay for it to they're 18, and let that life insurance policy roll over to that child's policy. Now they have that moving forward, and they're not waiting till they're 18 and starting their policy, or 26 starting their policy. They started it when they were 3 months. Now you get a little more value if you start, thinking about, I know we talked earlier about having your policy for emergency rainy days. You shouldn't do that, but it does add a little more cash value over time. Right. Another thing about the over time with your life insurance policy, guys, when you get older, you're going to pay more. Your premiums go up. Like you scroll back and you look at what you're paying now, but you look at what you're going to pay when if God willing, you make it over to 70, 80 years old.
Right.
You start paying a lot more than that. Oh, I was paying $26. Yeah, now you're paying hundreds of dollars. But this is, your life here, and over that course, you want to make sure that you're able to continue that policy as you get older, and you just don't pay in, and then you just don't have to cancel your policy because you didn't account for later on in life. I'm gonna have so many more bills, and then as life comes, do I just cancel my life insurance policy that I paid 30 years on because I can't afford it anymore?
Right.
So you got to plan on getting the policy early and then being able to maintain and keep the policy.
Definitely think that's important. So I have godchildren, and even if, the child is not your dependent, I think it's worth investing as a family, for the community around that child, right? It takes a village to raise children, to invest and make sure that even if, let's say it's a single mother, that sometimes they might question that $10 to $15 a month. But I think it's important that as a community, we help make sure that the child has insurance. I know there's a popular song and it says something about being a trust fund baby, but often, and I think Mr. Mack also said it, after a certain age, the children or that child, when they become in their 20s, that can be a gift from the family. You cash in that insurance plan, help that young adult get on their feet, and then hopefully they have a job and they're able to have their own insurance that might be a little bit better and have coverage. And then all of a sudden you cash in that other insurance plan, and now they have a down payment for a house, or an extra $100,000 in their pocket that they can invest and continue their life with.
What's up, Mr. Mack?
I think not having some type of insurance or burial coverage or anything else is very selfish of you, especially if you have a family. Like you go out and you ball out and you want to look good while you're here for yourself, but you're saying after I leave this plane, you don't care about how, everybody else maintaining their livelihood. You don't care about your spouse having to sell the house that you worked so hard to get. And a lot of people might not want the insurance because they don't have anything to pass on, and because it was like nobody left them anything. So why should I leave anybody else anything?
Right. No, that is valid.
Now, another thing is some people can't get life insurance, and it's hard. Like a lot of people with pre-existing conditions, they make it hard. A lot of military people, PTSD, you can't really get a life insurance policy. So,
right.
And that's the burden, or that's just like the game of the life insurance companies, and there's different types. You want that whole life ideally, but you can do a term if you don't do anything. I don't know if we're going to get into the different types of life insurance.
Yeah, we definitely will. We can take it in. I'm listening. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, my hand's down. I'm done. You can edit out of that.
So the types of life insurance that are available to people are term life insurance, and those types of insurance are only good for 10 years. And when you pay for them, which is why everyone stresses and they limit the availability for whole life insurance. But whole life is your entire life. So you're covered for your entire life. They just make those policies, they make them few and far in between when you get access to getting those. So you have to get with the right insurance company. You have a universal life insurance, and those types of life insurance policies are offered for lifelong coverage, right? And have a cash value growth. You have a variable universal insurance, and those are combined features of the variable one and then some of what you have at universal. And then you have a burial insurance, and that covers the funeral expenses so that your loved ones don't have to worry about that. So burial and funeral expenses. And then you have compare life insurance, which is two main types. And those are term life insurance and whole life insurance. And so they're slightly different, where you can get with a company who can do some comparisons and give you some trade-off on what you would get from this one and bring it over here, but you're not getting the full coverage of a whole life policy, but you can pull some things. So it's almost like you being able to customize your insurance policy to some extent. But the three main types of insurance are term life, whole life, and universal.
I wanted to discuss reasons why people may be denied for health insurance because it's valuable to the conversation, and maybe why they get GoFundMe money. Maybe they don't have insurance, or maybe because you can get the GoFundMe money within 2 weeks and it may be a prolonged time to get the money from the insurance company. Either way, people may get denied life insurance companies by insurance companies for several reasons to include health insurance, health issues, pre-existing medical conditions, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, or high blood pressure, which can lead to denial, especially if they are considered high risk. High risk occupations or hobbies. Jobs are activities that involve dangerous work, such as construction, firefighting, or high risk hobbies like skydiving, rock climbing. Age. Some insurance companies may deny life insurance to applicants who are too old, as the risk of death increases with age. So I'm assuming that's like senior citizens. Smoking or excessive drinking. Smoking or alcohol, which you've already tapped into, smoking or alcohol abuse can significantly increase health risks, leading to high premiums or even denial of coverage. Unpaid debts, financial instability. If an applicant has a history of financial instability, bankruptcy, or large amounts of debt, insurers may see them as a high risk and choose to deny coverage. Hazardous driving records. A history of multiple traffic violations, accidents, DUIs can signal risky behavior, leading to denial of life insurance. Family medical history. A family medical history of hereditary diseases or conditions can sometimes result in denial of insurers being issued insurance. Inaccurate or incomplete application, providing false or incomplete information on the insurance application can lead to rejection if discrepancies are discovered during the underwriting process. Being overweight. Severe obesity is linked to various health conditions, and life insurance companies may deny coverage based on obesity-related risks. Each insurance company has its own criteria and risk factors they consider, so applicants may still be able to find coverage with different providers depending on the situation. And again, this is research that was the research that I'm talking about is coming from a collective source about most affordable insurance in the USA. Okay, I did Google a little bit. So it does say GoFundMe has become a widely accepted platform for funeral funding, and many have found it to be an effective way to cover the immediate financial burden.
I mean, just like I said before, I think that, we have to be able to educate, because we come, I guess, so far away from, our, I guess, ancestors, but not that far back. But you know what I mean? Like how life insurance was so important to them, and where, for me, my family and my parents didn't stress it for me. But even just in the field that I work in, this newer generation, they're not thinking about that. It's a right now type of thing. And I think just stressing and really just honing in on the education of it. And also it goes hand in hand with being financially stable, financially literate as well. Really understanding, how to balance finances, how to do those different things. And it is kind of hard because, a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck with the way the economy is set up now. They're struggling, but I think just not like bamming it in their heads, but really getting them to understand the importance of it and knowing that GoFundMe is just it's not something that you need to rely on, because at the end of the day, you're relying on other people. It's like it's not a guaranteed thing. So if nobody contributes to your GoFundMe, then what happens? So just making sure that they understand really the importance of it.
What you got?
I mean, honestly, I feel like you all just kind of, I don't want to sound redundant because you all pretty much just took all the words out of my mouth. So I think we're all on the same page when it comes to that. And I'll just leave it with knowledge is power, just being financially responsible and not use it. What's the word I'm looking for? Don't take advantage of the system, just try to be financially responsible and not abuse the system for what it's made for.
That's what we're doing here. We're giving some new knowledge, new ideas to utilize for our listeners, for each other, and just growing the next generation. If we start doing that, like Mr. Max said, the parents get a policy and then family members come in and get a policy. Now you got 2 policies, so you double covered. And, adding strong beneficiaries to those policies, a secondary beneficiary to support in the absence of the first one. We just making better financial steps for our future because we know one thing for sure, we're all going to die, but we don't know the date or the time. But you can plan to the best of your ability to leave your family burden free as much as possible.
Right. So Dr. Juju and Mr. Mack, in closing, anything you want to leave for our viewing audience that you want to share?
I do have one thing, Coco. I would like to say, as we increase our knowledge of this, let's also learn about things as insurance kickers and insurance riders. Those are things that will help, like I said, add that benefit and make those insurance policies benefit you in your long-term care and the other avenues. Please do more research, because we're not insurance gurus. These are things that we're dealing with in our lives, and we're trying to protect our families, and we want to offer this advice to you because we care about our viewers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Dr. Juju?
Just to make sure that you are prepared. Cece said it best, right? I mean, it's inevitable. It will happen. So the idea is that you prepare the future generation. It makes no sense. I know we probably said it on this call already or on this show already. Why did generations before us prepare for their death? But unfortunately, we're not preparing the future generations for that moment. So be prepared, set aside, even if it's at $10 a month. You never know how much that will go.
I totally agree. And just to add, I think, to the conversation, as we close out, one of the most important things is to take away, this is not a judgment call. This is just a wake up call for us to make sure that we are, empowering each other, but educating each other and saying, hey, you can control the dynamics of your family if you just have these conversations. Because there's a lot of people who are they're healthy but uneducated, right? They don't have that knowledge because someone else did not put that instill that information in them. They didn't say do this because it wasn't instilled in them, right? And so they have no knowledge of, and maybe friends don't have those talking conversations. And as friends, we should start having conversations, especially if we notice. Because I know my friend group, if I notice you don't go to the doctor that often, it's like, okay, you should probably go and just let them do a checkup. Like those checkups are designed just to help do preventative. Like you don't have to take any medication that's prescribed to you if you don't feel like medication is your thing. You would rather do a maybe holistic approach to it, but you still want to do those check-ins just to make sure like, hey, you got life insurance policy, you have medical insurance. So again, just want to say in closing, we're not judging anyone. And again, like Mr. Max said, and we're not insurance professionals, but what we are people who see and witness every day people getting killed, losing their lives, and family members posting GoFundMes to get the support to bury their person. And I do understand extenuating circumstances. However, we are just simply saying that GoFundMe should not be the go-to thing for life insurance policies. We should get life insurance policies and maintain a reasonable burial, right? And homegoing, not just wanting to showboat, but I've lived my life. People have seen, everything that I've done is a testament. All I want my loved ones to do is to be able to go home with peace of mind. That's it. And not have to worry. My children, my siblings, and if my mother's still alive, my mom. I don't want them to have that worry of, well, how much can you give? And how much can you give? Or I started a GoFundMe for that. So, again, just saying this is all peace and love. Nothing more, nothing less, no judgments. We will put some insurance information in the description section of the video, and just share and encourage everybody to get insurance, get health insurance, get life insurance, but more importantly, life insurance. If you don't get health insurance, go get checked. Just make sure you're good. But if not, get you a $20,000 policy and let that work. Anybody else?
And I think, like I said, you can get a 20,000. Does everyone have to have $1 million life insurance policy? You need your policy to cover your needs at the time.
Right. So how's your family living right now? I mean, I know some people are the breadwinner, but how are they living right now? So if it's just enough to avoid that cost, just get a $20,000 policy. Let that be. They can take $10,000 and figure it out, right? Use that money, figure it out. But get coverage. That's all.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Real Talk Good Vibes, where the vibes be vibing.
Pretend we're something we're nothing. I've been stuck thinking back.